What about, so besides the traffic in the opposite direction, and by the way, it's not a new traffic. Since slavery ended first in the Caribbean in the 1830s, black people were taken back as middle-level management. I recently read a book about my hometown, Keta, and it was very heartbreaking, the documentation by this Harvard professor of history. The same kind of thing that Emerson spoke about. Some of those Caribbean, educated Caribbean, who were brought to help run the British Empire, did to the Africans exactly what was done to them in the Caribbean. Ditto for Liberia. Ditto for Togo. Togo is next to Ghana. In all my years in Paris, I had long arguments with the Togolese opposition. The way you're approaching this problem of dictatorship in your country is the wrong way round. Historically, you guys in the south of Togo, you had the first contact with Europeans, and therefore you think you are more civilized. And you have taken that attitude into your politics. You are opposing Eyadema, and you have said all kinds of snide things about him. I don't agree with Eyadema. Eyadema was a killer, but he's still a human being. You call him a monkey. Whereas what needed to be done was to provide adequate education and training for those people who were historically discriminated against. But you are just doing exactly what colonialism did to you. It's exactly the same thing that you're doing from people in your country who happened not to have been in contact with the West for as long as you have been, and the pattern continues. It's not only, well, the West came to West Africa from the coast. But once upon a time, civilization came from the north, across the Sahara. If you go to North Africa, you now have pockets of African immigrants in their ghettos, and the treatment has always been the same. So, what has all this got to do with what needs to be done to correct the missteps, failures, and to put it quite bluntly, some of the blatant corruption and downright vicious wickedness of the Mobutu Sese Sekos, the baby dogs and the papa dogs? I want to end by admitting that the continuing rush to China for help in infrastructural development makes perfect short-term economic sense. It is cheaper than dependence on the West that has for at least the last 600 years brought us on balance, only grief, notwithstanding the unintended consequences of rationalist philosophical thought of the environment of the European Enlightenment, whose dark underbelly is in part responsible for the calculations of profit and loss at the heart of the Atlantic trade. Masri has given us some conceptual tools to work with. The diaspora of colonialism he identifies is continuing to grow in the West as it is growing in the Middle East too. These new diasporas, all these diasporas, can be mobilized to help create the material basis on which practical racism, in spite of the thorough discrediting of the pseudo-religious, anthropological, and false scientifically claimed that originally underpinned it ideologically. That is what needs to be done. So racism, as Kwame Anthony Appiah tells us, can be sunk forever. But that racism cannot be sunk unless we engage with what the various elements of our black world is and how those various elements could be mobilized.